All right, welcome to our presentation on mass transit in the Valley. We're going to be talking about dining and community along the Metro GE line, it's sometimes called the Orange Line, which is its old name. But yeah, my name is Caroline Bauman,
I'm
I'm
Valerie Washburn.
I'm M. Richter.
I'm Lee.
and this is for our Geography 630A class in spring of 2025. So I want to start with a little introduction of the G or Orange Line. So the G line is a rapid bus transit line that runs between Chatsworth and North Hollywood in the San Fernando Valley. It's pretty cheap. It's just $1.75 to go on a ride. So it makes it very cheap and sustainable to get around the valley. There are 17 stops along this line. So for this project, we investigated each one of these stops to learn a little bit more about the communities in these areas. And so we investigated the areas 1 mile around each of these stops, and we looked for local and family-owned restaurants within reasonable walking distance. This knowledge can be used to guide people who are new to the area or traveling in for the Olympics or otherwise to help them travel more sustainably and help local businesses. So this is what the Orange Line and its stops look like with the 1 mile radius around it that we investigated.
In order to understand the communities around the Orange Line better, we did some research on the history of the line. Most people think of the San Fernando Valley as the quintessential car space, but actually, there was mass transit where the G line is now, long before we had our freeways. So the Southern Pacific Railroad had a branch called the Burbank Branch, which ran along what is now the route of the Orange Line, starting in 1893. It was a passenger train line. It ran the current route of the G line, but also continued further east to a terminus in Burbank. So passenger service from the Southern Pacific Train Company ran between 1893 and 1920. In 1911, the Southern Pacific started sharing that right of way with the Pacific Electric Company, which was responsible for the red cars, which are the very famous streetcar system they used to connect all of Metro LA. And the red cars ran on that line between 1911 and 1952. At that point, cars were taking over, and passenger service was a little bit of a no-go. So the Southern Pacific ended up running freight trains along the route for a while, but in 1991, they finally gave up and sold the right of way to Los Angeles Metro Transit Authority, which handles LA's public transit. And immediately, because it was a train route, Metro was thinking of putting a light rail or possibly even a subway there. Neighbors, though, of the line in the eastern section did not like the idea of a light rail. It was very controversial, and they actually successfully got their congressperson to have Sacramento, the state legislature, pass a law saying that if something were going to be built along that line, it would have to be a subway. But this was a little bit of a blocking move because the funding that was available to build something on that line did not cover subways. It would have had to be a light rail. So Metro might have been stuck with a right of way it couldn't use. However, a couple of LA elected officials just happened to visit Curitiba, Brazil, which is a city that has pioneered the idea of bus rapid transit, where buses run on their own dedicated right of way so they get to bypass traffic. And that was how the idea for the Orange Line came into being. And it opened in 2005 as the very first bus rapid transit line in the US to run entirely on its own separate right of way. When it first opened, it only ran from North Hollywood to Canoga, only 13 stops. And then in 2012, it was extended north to its current terminus in Chatsworth, and 4 more stops were added. And only in 2020, Metro renamed all its train lines, which had formerly been named after colors, to have them be named after letters to reduce confusion. So the Orange Line became the G Line, but for people who use it, it's still very much referred to as the Orange Line.
Okay, so the G line of today and tomorrow. In 2024, the G line recorded an annual readership of about 4.4 million, as we can see from the graphic, an increase of 0.6% from the previous year. So riders pay a standard fare of 1.75 per trip, which includes 2 hours of free transfers when using a tap card. To improve both efficiency and safety, Metro has launched a 668 million improvement project, and this includes constructing grade separations at major intersections, installing full corner gate at certain crossings between North Hollywood and Van Nuys, and building a new elevated Van Nuys station. These upgrades are expected to cut travel times by about 12 minutes, a nearly 22% improvement, and enable buses to run every 5 minutes. As part of this project, the Mandai station closed in February 2025 for reconstruction and is scheduled to reopen in December 2027. All of these efforts are part of Metro's broader plan to enhance transit reliability and potentially convert the G Line corridor into a light rail system in the future.
Okay, demographics along our G line. So this first map shows a diversity index of each zip code along the G line through these neighborhoods. The diversity index measures the likelihood that two people chosen at random from within a given zip code will be different races or ethnicities. The darker the shade indicates the higher diversity index. We can see from this map that every single stop on the G line is either within or at the edge of these higher tiers of the diversity index. The next map underneath this group of text shows the predominant racial or ethnic groups from the US Census blocks around the G line stops. And this is based from the 2020 census. Orange areas are predominantly non-Hispanic white, blue areas are predominantly Latino, bright yellow areas are predominantly Asian. Predominantly non-Hispanic black areas are shown in red, but there are no such groups along our route. Darker colors mean that this predominance is stronger. Interesting patterns emerge from this map. The path of the G line comes close to tracing the boundary between predominantly white areas along the southern and western edges of the San Fernando Valley and predominantly Latino areas in the valley's center, north, and east. This line follows the path of the old Southern Pacific Railroad train, which was built before widespread residential development in the valley. It's possible that the patterns of ethnic clustering we see today were partially caused by this train line, with different sides of the tracks following different development trajectories and leading to different patterns of ethnic settlements.
All right, and for the next section of our story map, we created a guided tour of all the stops along the G line. So if you'd like, you can scroll through and you can see pictures that we've taken of these stops, as well a little description of what's going on there, a little bit about the community demographics, things like that. But that's a lot of information, so we're each going to highlight one stop and talk a little bit more in detail about it. So the first stop is the one that I'm going to talk about. This is the North Hollywood stop. You can see the picture here. It is quite a big transit station. So the North Hollywood stop is located in the NoHo Arts District, which is a part of North Hollywood that's known for things like theaters and dance studios, art, music, things like that. So because of that, this place has become a cultural hub, and with that, a lot of good food has come along as well. So the Arts District was established in 1992 when business and theater owners kind of moved into this area from Universal City that was getting a little crowded. So they called it NoHo as a play on the Soho Arts District, which is in New York City. So I highly recommend this stop if you're visiting Los Angeles or the San Fernando Valley. It's a really cool place to go. There's a lot of art and culture and nightlife and restaurants. I've been many times with my friends. There's always people walking around. There's always things going on, which is really fun. And it's very accessible by this bus line. But something that's also interesting is that this stop is also where the G line connects to other metro stations like the B line subway, which can connect you to other places in LA like Hollywood, Koreatown, and downtown Los Angeles. So this is a great place to visit and also a really cool way to kind of branch out from the G line and explore other locations. All right, and then we're going to skip to Valley College.
The Valley College stop is an extremely important one in terms of ridership. As the name suggests, the stop is adjacent to Valley College, which is part of the LA Community College system. It has around 15,000 commuter students, many of whom get to school via the G line. Campus is open to the public and is actually a lovely place to walk around and very nice athletic facilities. The rest of the area around the Valley College stop is fairly residential, fairly quiet, but there is one very important cultural landmark, perhaps the most important one in the whole San Fernando Valley, about a 15-minute walk from the station, and that is the Great Wall of Los Angeles. The Great Wall of Los Angeles is a mural painted on the wall of the concrete wall surrounding the Tahunga Wash, which is a channelized river like the Los Angeles River. This mural extends a full half mile. It was painted in the 1970s. It was helmed by a Los Angeles artist named Judy Baca, but she enlisted the assistance of hundreds of local artists and community members. And it is a very impressive thing to visit, especially because it sits in the middle of kind of a quiet residential neighborhood where you wouldn't know it is there. And the mural basically tells the story of the history of Los Angeles, taking sort of a people's history of perspective and emphasizing the experiences of people of color, indigenous people, immigrants, the working class. And walking along it is a fantastic Los Angeles history lesson. This is something very unique that most people don't know is hiding out in a quiet neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley.
Thanks, Valerie. Now we're going to move on to number 7, which is the Woodley stop.
So the Woodley stop is at the northern end of the Sepulveda Basin. This is a large recreation area in the San Fernando Valley. The Sepulveda Dam was completed in 1941 by the Army Corps of Engineers Los Angeles District to provide flood protection from Angelenos. To construct, operate, and maintain the dam, the Corps acquired over 2,000 acres of land, and roughly 1,500 acres have been leased to the city of Los Angeles for recreational purposes. This means that the Sepulveda Basin is the second largest urban park in Los Angeles and is actually over twice the size of New York City's Central Park. It has indoor and outdoor sports facilities, several golf courses, a park, picnic, and wildlife areas, and most arguably importantly, it is set to host several Olympic events in the 2028 Olympics. 3-on-3 basketball, BMX racing, the modern pentathlon, and skateboarding. Regardless of why you're down here, it's certainly
Thanks, Em. Okay, and then we're going to go to stop number 14, which is the Sherman Way stop.
Yes, so for the Sherman Way stop, the station opened on June 30, 2012, and as part of the G Line extension to Charleswood, served as a key transit hub with popular art and amenities similar to other stops. But what makes Sherman Way stop interested and unique is the vibe of the Vantique. So it not only connects riders to Metro bus service and the local attractions like downtown Canoga Park and the Madrid Theater. The area is known for its Vantique charm with unique shops, classic decoration stores, Vantique cars, and the cozy local restaurants. So when you walk along the Sherman Way Street, you can see there are a lot of store signs, including the sofa repairing shop, including the clothes shop. So it seems so classic and old-fashioned when you are walking here.
Very nice, thank you. All right, and we're just going to skip through the rest of that section and move on to the next. So this is kind of where we decided to highlight the restaurants that we're recommending. So as you remember, we investigated 1-mile areas around each of the stops, and we investigated restaurants in the area. What we were looking for is things that are locally owned, family owned, not huge major chains. So that way we can kind of invest back into local businesses. And then we also looked to make sure that they're actually accessible from the stop. So, some of them we investigated and we found that, it's really not a clear walking path or maybe a little bit dangerous or uneven sidewalks, things like that. So we didn't include those. So these are kind of our top recommendations. The map is pretty cool. It's a little interactive, so you can go ahead and click on a restaurant. And when you do, an image will show up. These are images that we collected. There'll be a little bit of a quote from something somewhere in the community that we gathered either personally or online. And then there'll be some information about the restaurant, its name, address, where it's located, the nearest stop, how far it is to walk from the stop, and if we found website or social media for the restaurant. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and click around. We also included one cultural destination that Valerie talked about, which is the Great Wall of Los Angeles. So if you are curious about where that is, here it is. All right, and then these restaurants in green are the ones that we're going to highlight today because we found that they were exceptional and really wanted to share those with you. So we're going to get started.
So La Sang Pinas Phil Asian Restaurant is near the Nordhof stop on the G line. And it's a great illustration of the very LA principle that you're going to find some of the best, most interesting restaurants in unlikely locations. The Nordhof stop is not the most inviting for visitors. It's in sort of a light industrial area. But you can walk about 15 minutes east of the stop. Sidewalks are good. And on DeSoto Avenue, there's a cluster of restaurants and strip malls, one of which is this family-run, small, friendly Filipino restaurant. And it is sort of a steam table restaurant where you can choose to get one entree or two entrees over rice, over noodles that will be scooped out of steam trays for you, already ready to go. So it is fast food of a different kind, and it is the perfect destination for anybody who's an adventurous eater, interested in eating all parts of all animals. So you can get pork, chicken, goat, beef, pig feet, pig ears, pork blood, fried pork intestines, all of it fresh and hot. And it is absolutely a gem in the rough.
Thanks, Valerie. All right, and then we have this one.
Yes, so this one is Ayapapa Kiriko, and Ayapapa Kiriko is a Latin fusion restaurant and serves Cuban, Mexican, and Salvadorian cuisine. It only to take you like 10 minutes walk from the bus station, and they not only offer the savory cuisines, they also offer a selection of delightful back cooks. So what I try is the Guatemala pastry, and the bakery is featured trees such as like a guava, cheese pastry, and pineapple pastry. They provide a lot of option for you. And what I didn't know was like when you try the pastry, you usually have to order the drink. So you will put the pastry into the drink and then you have it. It will increase the moisture of the pastry. And yeah. Oh, by the way, Ayapapa Kiriko is the chain restaurant and they're based in Los Angeles. And right now they have like six other restaurants in different areas. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and this one's next.
All right, Springbok Bar and Grill. If you're here for sports in the Valley, this is the spot for you. This is right across the street from the Woodley stop, so it's a very short walk away. This is a bar and grill. It's a South African sports bar. This is a very sort of fitting stop considering all the talk about sports and how it's right across the street from a theater of sport for the upcoming 2028 Olympics. They have weekly events, trivia Tuesdays, karaoke Thursdays and Sundays, DJ Saturdays, as well as monthly events like live music, comedy nights, theme nights, and more. As for food, it's got the genre classics of sandwiches, burgers, and drinks, but there's also a section on their menu dedicated to more traditional African dishes. Los Angeles Daily News recommends going there for a soccer, cricket, or rugby match to get the full wild experience.
Great, thank you. And and I'm going to be talking about Ozzy's a Pizza, which is located very close to the North Hollywood stop. It's zero point 0.1 miles, and that's part of the reason why I picked it. You can get right off the North Hollywood stop, and you cross one street that has a really nice protected crosswalk, and there you are, which is really convenient. And I picked this place because it has really interesting history of how it came. So it's the only store in Los Angeles that has New Haven style pizza, which traditionally is done with charcoal ovens, but that's illegal in LA. So the restaurant owner had to kind of figure that out and run through that process and was able to create a really unique product. And the owner, Chris Wallace himself, has a really interesting story of how he went through sobriety, nostalgia, and red tape to get to this signature style that he created. It's kind of become a cult classic. There's so many options for all different types of diets. They even have like vegan options, which I thought was pretty impressive. And people love it because it's named Ozzy's after the owner's dog, Ozzy, which is also the logo, which is pretty fun. So those are the restaurants that we decided to highlight. And finally, we have a video for you. Jenny, do you want to talk about this?
Yes, because of this project, we have the opportunity to really take the G Line bus and see how it goes. And we also visit different restaurants. So this is our little G Line tour. And I want to like emphasize there's one restaurant we visit is the Back Tofu donut, which is really different compared to the classic American donut because they don't fry it. They use the bacon one and they use tofu instead of the heavy wheat. Yes, so they can check it out.
All right, thank you. All right. Well, that concludes our story map presentation. We hope you learned a little bit more about the Metro G line and some of the restaurants that we recommend in this area. So thanks for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.